Welcome to Lickin' on Lending, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the mortgage industry. Your host, David Lickin, bringing you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. Whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, this show is your go-to source for all things mortgage. Let's get started. This is Lickin' on Lending. Now your host, David Lickin.
Listeners, we're in for a real treat. We've been talking a lot about technology in our podcast, and we're going to do so again today. But this time we're going to be talking to someone with over 2 decades of senior executive leadership spanning the full spectrum of mortgage operations. Our guest is Mark Todd. He brings unmatched hands-on experience and strategic insight and a whole lot of wit to the financial services industry. He's a delight. I love his sense of humor. As the Executive Vice President of Sales and Client Services at Byte Software, Mark has spent the past 10 years helping banks, credit unions, and mortgage lenders of all sizes navigate operational complexity, enhance customer experience, and embrace technology driven for the future of lending. Mark, good to have you here, friend.
Thanks. Good to be had.
Yeah, we got to give a shout out to your head of marketing, Bobby Palmer, who wrote up a heck of an intro there for you. He's a great man, and I love working with you guys.
I'll try to live up to it.
Yeah, no. Well, the fun part about you, Mark, I love, we're going to start off this, everything I do in these podcasts is fairly informal, but every year, Christmas, you do some of the most hilarious things right there from that very spot. You do these Christmas, was it the 12 days of Christmas or something? What is it that you're doing there? That's hilarious.
So, wrapping, not like beat bop, gift wrapping mastery class.
That's what it is, yes.
Martha Stewart thing.
Martha Stewart thing.
Probably intended to be stickety over top.
Mark, I just read your bio, and you have such an impressive background that touches both technology as well as real-world, hands-on mortgage banking experience. What I'd like to do is give us a little more of a background of your journey that's gotten you to where you're at. How in the heck did you get to this? You've been at Byte for a long time.
Yes, I have. I'll try to give the cliff notes, but I was born into mortgage. I was processing in Pampers. My dad had a mortgage brokerage and a banker, became a mortgage banker, and I was processor, underwriter, closer, shipper, did a little bit of everything.
Whatever dad needed.
I swore I would not get into the mortgage industry. I saw the Christmases of plenty and the Christmases of nothing. I'm like, I want nothing to do with that industry. I went to college. And when I graduated from college in the early 90s, like, there were no jobs. It was a terrible job market. So I was like, mortgage? Like, yeah. I worked at a few lender shops. I decided to do my own thing back in early 1999 to 2007. And we had and at the debacle, that was rather depressing. I got out of it without owing anybody any money. That was all good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I was drawn to technology at the time. I had some background in a technology company, and back then programming was like chicken magic, and I just wasn't intimidated by it. I was like, programming's no big deal, and so we made our competitive advantage by adding on to whatever our LOS did not do and subsidizing that technology with our own technology. And this is going way back. We were using data track.
Oh yeah. Well, why? Okay. Rob Krantz.
Rob Katz.
Rob Katz, yeah.
He's, man, come to the dark side. I love what you do with our software, and come on to our team. We're replatforming, blah, 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 blah. And of course, they got bought by Ellie and whatnot. But when I was at Data Track, we had Byte, and we were actually trying to hawk it as a front end to Data Track while we were replatforming. And we all fell in love with Byte. We're like, man, this thing is great. Like, why have we not ever heard of that? And anyway, years later, I was at a shop at Gateway Mortgage Group, and they were trying to replace their LOS. I was like, let me take a look at what Byte and how far it's come. And it had come so far that I ended up putting it into place and trying to stick with the cliff notes. It was about 4 or 5 years later, and I looked down, and there was this industry rag had rated the satisfaction of lenders with their LOS. And right at the tippy top, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Other people know about Byte. It exists out there. And I actually called up the president of Byte and asked him for a job, like, on the spot. I'm like, man, I want to be a part of that. And a decade ago. So a lending background, but was always immersed in technology. And I found that's where I had the most fun and got the most enjoyment of building things and making things more efficient. So it's kind of like a duck to a June bug at Byte. I love it.
I think so. I sometimes wonder how many people in technology have any grasp of what mortgage banking is, but especially when you look at some of the functionality, you go, you must not have ever worked in mortgage banking. The beautiful part about Byte is that you have made this so configurable. You make it so easy for people to use, and it's now gives me some insights as to why I did not know that you had all of that mortgage banking experience back from the days of your diapers, so to speak. Work diapers with dad.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and it can work against you. People coming in that don't have that background and all of the detail, they're befuddled by all the detail, befuddled by all the, yeah, but you can't do this, and yeah, but you can't do that. It can work against you. So you have to ride a fine line there. But yeah, I think if there's any strength of the Byte software that stands out above all else, it is making it where you don't have to have a developer administrating this thing.
Yes, so important.
That can speak the English language and knows a thing or two about mortgage. They understand that. What is a 365-day basis? Should I check that box for us to use a 365-day basis? Assuming you know what that means, all you can do is check the box. You don't have to write some code around that. So, yeah, it is. Good. Yeah. I think more so than any other LOS probably makes it more intuitive and deliverable to a business person to get hands-on and take control.
And I think that's why you've landed some of the clients you have. You have some of the biggest out there. You got Atlantic Bay, you've got CMG, you've got also guys like Radius. You've got so many people that I've worked with as a consultant over the years. So given all of your mortgage banking background, I can really understand how you've been able to play a significant role there. But I'm really interested in understanding how you, Mark, and your team there at Byte find the balance between leveraging today's cutting edge technology without losing the benefits of a platform with such a long, happy history and so many good clients. You have clients that are raving fans. They are just, you could not get them out of Byte. And that's the ones that, and they're some of the biggest ones. We talked about CMG. We talked about Atlantic Bay. We're talking about Radius Financial. There's so many outstanding lenders out there that are raving fans of you guys. So how do you do that? How do you balance that?
If I didn't say it earlier, and I meant to, I want to say just thanks for having us on the podcast.
Oh, well, that's good to have you.
It's always an enjoyable conversation with David Licken, always. And so to your question on finding that balance between the new technology and the benefits of a mature application, if you're referring to technology as complex as a loan origination platform, then I'm just going to get cocky and I'm going to say it's not possible to implement a new LOS technology that includes those 40 years of business and integration knowledge. It's just not. Yeah. Byte, we're continually tweaking features and integrations, little weird edge cases that you didn't see, even though you've had that integration for 10 years. The market changed. People started using this different kind of product. They started implementing a weird buy down plan or a weird HELOC or whatever. And that's work that's matured over 40 years. It's been beat on by over 1,000 lenders and tens of thousands of users. And my fear would be that if you're going to throw in a new LOS technology, one of the new Johnny-come-lately, that not to be an alarmist, but you're going to spend years helping that new player plug gaps on various.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's really a good point.
40 years matured. It's not a bad thing. I just know they got a lot of ground to make up because they haven't been doing it for 40 years.
We always welcome new players in there, but I got to tell you, I think I love innovation in the industry, which, by the way, our industry is pathetic at. The word innovation and our industry do not go hand in hand together. But the reality is,
at it though, man, we throw a lot of effort at it.
Yeah, but one of the things that you guys have managed to do is you do that cutting edge thing where you guys keep yourself relevant. And I think that's the balance. There's a lot of people, I'm thinking of one other vendor right now who says, let's keep it real simple. We just don't let people make many changes. They have to justify it. We lock it down to what this is our group. This is our groove. If you like it, that's good. If you don't, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to find another vendor. You do seem to find it, but there can be times where there's boundaries where that could drive you absolutely nuts, Mark.
Yeah, back to your former question, there's a vast depth to this business. A vast depth to this business. And the only form of education is experience. By locking people down and saying you're going to do it this way, you're being as arrogant to predict the future and what's going to happen. Rapidly changing. I'll use that word arrogant a couple more times, but what you're doing is you're presenting the quintessential challenge to all businesses, all industries, right? How do I maintain and enhance my relevance over the long term? How do I avoid that unavoidable product cycle of rising star to cash cow, and then I'm dead, then I'm slaughtered? How do I get around that? And as you mentioned, Byte's been providing loan origination platforms for over 40 years now. And over that time, we've had at least 4 different re-platforms with dozens of releases and tens of thousands of features enhancements along the way. And that's coming from over 1,000 lender customers. And now we're actually in the midst of rolling out Byte Web, is what we're calling a new product.
Yeah.
That's our new browser-based user interface. It would be the 5th generation of the Byte app.
Wow.
So we have a track record of navigating this product cycle over the long haul. And it's peaks and valleys, but we are very focused on the long term in that regard. How have we navigated that? Really, this is going to sound a little bit cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. And there's a lot of nuance to this topic. I don't want to oversimplify it, but for that said, for Byte, it's customer focus. Our culture is so deeply rooted into making sure we have happy clients. So we invest a lot of effort listening to what they want. And don't get me wrong, I listen to my sales guy too. What does he want? And I hate to hurt his feelings, but we're really more focused on what our existing customers want and making happy customers. And ultimately, the vast majority of what product works on is client driven. We don't get arrogant. We don't get arrogant in we think this is what's best for the customer. Occasionally we do. Right. I can come back to that. There's times when you do that. But for the most part, you want to do things that you know your customers are going to use, they're going to implement it. Usually it's the things that they're asking for. It's very tempting to focus on features that purely move sales. But that's short-sighted. Right. Customers, they got that shiny, sparkly object. Are they really satisfied with their LOS?
Mark, we also know how many loan officers say, I got to have this program. So companies do flip-flops, bend over backwards, they get in and launch a new program, and they do 2 of those loans. In today's market, it's well known that Byte is the best of breed of LOS solutions. And I think that's partly because you guys have learned the importance of staying in your swim lane. You know what is important that you develop, you know what you want to provide, and you let other vendors take care of some of the other needs that are out there. What do you think gives you the advantage as technology continues to advance at such a rapid rate?
The best of breed is definitely an advantage. I'll say I think it's an advantage for my customer. I will argue that I think it's a little more work in the sales process because you're having to play matchmaker with some vendors. Sometimes a customer comes in, they're like, I saw this CRM, they're awesome. I love this pricing engine, and we absolutely love this doc vendor. And that's easy peasy. They're already familiar with those services. But if you've been on an all-in-one over the last decade, you haven't really looked at outside at it can be overwhelming. So you go into the grocery store and there's 28 kinds of hot sauce. Wow, it's just overwhelming. Like, how do I make me pick from 3?
Too many choices. Yeah.
When I hear all-in-one, this is just me personally, when I hear all-in-one LOS, I cringe a little bit. And the allure emotionally of the utopian thought of having everything in one package and it all just fits my business needs and it works perfectly for me. That just sounds wonderful, right?
But it's not realistic.
Yeah, again, I'll use the word arrogant. I think it's arrogant if you think I've got the right solution for everybody and also
I can be all things to all people.
Is one provider going to be the best for your shop at everything? The best pricing engine, the best POS, the best LOS, the best doc provider, best compliance engine, best CRM, best AI, best whatever. That seems like a lot of pressure to take on as a vendor. And again, a bit arrogant. There are so many great providers out there serving so many distinct niches and pushing the bounds. I want my customers to enjoy the benefit of all of those, or whichever ones work best for them. And we notice in our customer conversations that customers can just have widely varying opinions. I can talk to this lender A and say, what do you think about brand X? I love brand X. It's a lifesaver. It saved my business. And then I go to lender B. What do you think about brand X? I don't understand how anybody can use that crappy solution. And then you can go to the other lender and get the exact opposite on brand Y. And it just amazes me. I may have used this on your last one. I use this a lot, but I refer to lenders as snowflakes. Like they're all following the same physics in terms of crystal formation, but no 2 of them ever end up looking alike. And I'm not against an all-in-one. Let me say that. I'm not poo-pooing it. And although we generally stick to our knitting and stay in our swim lane, I'm not going to say Byte may not ultimately add additional services down the path. If we're able to add value for our customers, I'm not against that. I think the problem arises when you find that your needs have evolved And you're suddenly
Yes.
like, now I'm doing these buy downs because it's a competitive market and I need to make this realtor happy, or I need to add this HELOC product because the product's thin out there and I'm doing second liens as a way I can make ends meet until, and you find out that your doc system doesn't support that well, or the pricing engine doesn't support the non-QM well that you want to do. Suddenly your needs have changed. Well, so that's okay. You go find another third-party service. I changed to this different doc prep provider. Guess what? Your all-in-one LOS didn't go, hey, man, I'm sorry it didn't work out. Let me lower your price by the amount of doc. No, you're not going to get the same bill, plus you're going to get the bill from your doc prep provider. So, isn't all-in-one. That's why I cringe a little bit, because I can't predict the future. And I don't want to do my whole LOS. Are you kidding me? I just need these docs. I move the whole kit and caboodle when I just need this one little part. And so long and short, I won't beat it to death, but I think my customers have an advantage because A, they can easily swap out providers. And if there's a new compelling provider that comes out that's better than what I have, then they
great point.
And B, should they still have to pay for my service when they're not using my service?
Yeah,
that's
such a great point. And we see that at other vendors out there, and you go, my gosh, how many times you paid for the same service because you were just in search of that? That's smart, the way you do that. I've been hearing a lot about your next generation LOS platform. It's been talked about for quite a while now, and I'm really interested to hear a bit about the perception that Byte is a little slow in innovation. Sometimes first of all, there's a misconception. You've been around for 40 years. That's got to be an archaic system. You already talked about how you're doing the fifth major next generation's product. And I'm really getting into how you have been deliberate and how some might have pointed saying you're slow, but it's being accurate, is it? More about doing it right. Measure twice.
In a perfect world, if I could wiggle my nose, and I know on my sales team, if we could just wiggle our nose, we all would have loved to have had a browser application. And for those that may not be familiar, Byte's historically a PC client application or a fact.
Yeah, PC client, right.
And in today's sales world, that's like just a stop down. It doesn't matter how much better. I had my eyes on this electric truck, and I was like, I'm not going to get a new car because this electric truck is coming out. It's not out yet. It's going to be out in 2027, but I'm just going to wait. And I'm just going to wait until that. People look at browser the same way. I'm not going to replace with the PC client software. Even if I know that's a great truck, I'm waiting for the electric truck. I'm waiting for the browser. And I won't go into it, but there are some valid reasons why if your shop it doesn't manage PC clients well and doesn't have that aptitude, why it's a downer to maintain that, and you'd be better off with a browser app. So I'm saying the browser's not worth anything. But remember, we're customer driven. And my customers who are already managing the client, they could care less about that browser. Now, I think they do, but they don't immediately. In 2017 to 2022, my clients were saying, no, I don't want to contemplate moving to browser. Just make this better, better, so I can get this mountain of loans off my desk and get them processed, get them get them closed. And that's really where, again, back to being a customer-driven, that's really where our emphasis stayed was, hey, our customers aren't saying we got to have browser now. Let's take care of our customers first. Obviously, we want to do browser, and obviously we've been on that road, and now we're really there. But I think another thing that was difficult about it is we probably could have thrown out a browser years ago that competed with some of the browser LOSs that have been out there for years. But they didn't do a lot of the cool things that my customers expect. So my customers aren't going to pick it up if it doesn't do validation roles and macros, and they can't have their custom screens and custom fields. They can't automate these tasks and services. There's a myriad of things that we would have to accomplish in a browser for my customers to be able to take it on. Secondly, or maybe this is thirdly, it has to be easy for my customers to digest. I don't want to present them with the option of, hey, guess what? I got a new LOS for you to implement. And that's what I hear from some others that are legacy apps that are moving to their next generation apps. They're like, oh, no, you start over. You re-implement. You recreate all your reports. You recreate all your templates. You recreate all your API applications, blah, 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 blah. For us, when I say a browser app, I think the way I would think about it is like, I don't know if you've ever been online and you clicked on a product and Amazon opened up in the browser and it knew your login and it knew all your lists and knew your credit card payments and probably a button up there that said you can open this in the app. And you can open it up in the app. Like, well, why did I do that? It looks pretty much just like the browser did. You know, it's same layout, knows my list, knows my...
Great analogy.
It's the same way with Byte. Our customers don't have to re-implement anything. They can just log into the browser and it looks and feels like their existing Byte Pro client. All
Just
the functionality of the Byte Pro client is there and embedded. And I'm overselling that maybe a little bit. There's some tiny configuration setup that you have to do. Do you want your users to have access to the browser, blah, blah, blah. But there's no setup in terms of rules or macros or object permissions and security detail. Matter of fact, I can go in from one to the other seamlessly and move between the client and the browser. Matter of fact, a lot of our customers actually like the client and say they have
really
in the client, and we don't have any immediate needs to tear the client down. Just like Amazon has the browser and has the app. We'll have the browser.
And they have the app. That's a great analogy. That's a really good analogy. When you think about changing an LOS, it is such a big decision. Do you have any suggestion or advice for companies considering making such a huge move?
Oh, wow. So many thoughts, and I'll try to whittle them down.
Well,
you just see people make mistakes. This is what we do for a living, right? We watch people make these mistakes over and over. And we try to be like the guide, if you will, on this journey. I have a lending background, and I look through everything through the lens of I'd never want my lender to go through that. I don't want my lender to have to go through that level of setup. But so a few things I would extract is, one, involve your whole team. Don't try to do this in a silo. Hopefully our industry's learned more from the old days where the secondary guy would get sold by some shiny, flashy object. And before you know it, they got a new LOS and underwriting managers never seen it and they don't know if it works for them. It takes a village. And I'll kind of link that with the devil's in the details, dig deep, take deep dives. And so I'm going to combine that with the first one of involve everybody and take deep dives. If your prospective LOS isn't willing to sit down with every manager and walk through exactly how their world might look and feel in Byte, if they can't take the time to do that, I would be suspect, because the devil is in the details. And everybody who says, okay, go do one conventional fixed and an FHA fixed and a VA fixed and let's see what we can know, I would say do the opposite. Those are going to be fine. The HELOC, the reverse mortgage, the interest only, the oddest programs that you have.
Take on the toughest ones.
Perm. That's where you need to dig in. And if they can't support you in those tough deals, those, by the way, those are the ones that nobody digs into. They get sold and then they get into it. They're like, whoa, respect to perms, I got these problems. Now I'm going to have to manually do all of these things, or I'm going to have to go engage a third-party doc prep provider and pay twice now because they can't do my construct to perms or whatever. Dig deep. Involve everybody. Dig deep. Thirdly, think critical about value creation. I find that I had a gentleman the other day going on and on about this verification was going to be automated in this new system, and this is how he was going to automate it. Nah, we got ways to automate things, don't get me wrong. But this was an interesting use case that I couldn't necessarily par up with one-to-one. And when I started talking to him about it, we get down to it, it's like, oh, that exists on about 1 out of 200 files. So if you're paying $60 more per loan, and on 1 out of 500 files you avoid one button click, was that a shiny, sparkly object? Was it a neat party trick in the demo? What did it mean for your company? What does it really mean if you get that feature? Did you suddenly go from 3 processors to 2? Probably not, by saving them the one button click. So did it really mean anything for you at the end of the day? And I think people just don't think critically about, well, you get a verification on every loan. Actually, you only get verifications in these situations, and a lot of times they're waived because of these situations. So you actually only get that verification. And are you really thinking down the rabbit hole? And that comes back to involve everyone, because there will be miscommunications. They'll say, yeah, we get a verification on every loan. Well, not that kind of verification. And not every loan. Every loan unless it's waived. That means not every loan. But the business analyst heard every loan and then times it by, I'm going to save $10 a loan. And no, you're going to save that $10 on 1 out of 500 loans. So you save 50 cents a loan or whatever.
See, that is really good point. Which the other thing is, take on the more difficult things first, and then take on, if you work those through, you'll be well. But one thing you guys really champion, which I'm a big fan of, is workflows and having a workflow well established. But you guys have the flexibility of working with so many varied workflows. That's probably one of the most significant advantages that Byte has over so many of the others out there.
For sure. And that would probably be my last little line of thinking is, if you're getting down to the purchase contract signing and you don't have a really clear picture of success and implementation, then I would yank the emergency brake there, and I would think about it longer.
Break the glass. Yes.
Yeah. When we go in with an implementation plan, we're basically assuring you that, hey, without you knowing anything, hey, I'm going to wire up your life of loan workflow from intake to shipping the loan, and porting it into servicing. Secondly, I'm going to do all your lock monitoring. We're going to make sure that when you lock a loan, we're monitoring that for changes throughout the process and catching anything that does. Same thing with underwriting. Your underwriting validity. We're making sure we do your HMDA, your NMLS reporting, your TRID monitoring and follow-up, and templates to disclose those. So, we want to take your blocking and tackling, and this is the piece you were saying that a lot of this is the same lender to lender, and we've built that already, and then tweak it. You say, hey, we do this a little bit differently. We can tweak that, but you're not starting from scratch on all of this. So we do this blocking and tackling,
Good point.
Making sure your life of loan data is there, making sure that the loan you originated and underwrote is the same loan you locked and funded, that you've got all your regulatory reporting in place, that you're disclosing properly. And then we let you focus on what makes Byte what's specific to your organization. And you shouldn't, when you do an implementation with us, you shouldn't have to worry about wiring up the blocking and tackling of your shop. And we're going to show you a plan that you can walk away with confidence knowing that's the case, that there's a closed loop process behind all of it.
Good point. Yeah.
If you're being left to, hey, just trust me, and there's lots of features there for you to do this, then dig deeper. Dig deeper. It's worth the effort to dig deeper. And I know at Byte, what we will do, once you've done a couple of demos, and if you're interested in this, we have no problem with it. We'll actually give you a full version of the software and let you start kicking the tires. And you can kick the tires, or we can give you the keys and let you drive.
Wow.
Just drive the car. And I think that's a testament in and of itself, because I think a lot of LOSs would be scared to death.
Yeah.
The keys to the car. Well, we want to guide you and help you along in that, but ours is good enough that we're proud to show you, here's what you get as a blank slate when you first, that new car smell, and hey, let's jump in this and let's start going down the road and let's start solving those problems together. I think if somebody's not willing to do that and they're pressuring you to sign a contract before you're comfortable, then it's a little bit of a shyster. You should be willing and able to spend that time and get you comfortable that the suit wears well after the sale.
Mark, you just did a new release, and this question might frustrate you but we got to ask, what's next for Byte? You guys are always innovating. What's ahead for us?
Right on. Fair question. And there's always something ahead of us. We have some stuff in the hopper, in the skunk works, on the vision board.
The skunk works. I love it.
Yeah. Obviously, the focus right now is on getting Byte Web out, and where we're at with that is with this release that we just released this last week. Going forward, anybody that we're selling to, we're selling in the browser, as your users are all going to be in the browser. But the administrative features and configuration that your admin would set is still in the client. So we still have some work to do to move over configuration and administration into a browser experience. But typically that's one or two people in the organization that are working with administrative stuff. From there, it's maybe a little premature to say, but I'm going to go ahead and announce it. Like, we're actually in the next quarter, we should be launching a native pricing engine.
Wow, that's big. That's huge.
Yeah, it's a biggie. And actually, this is a scoop, because this is the first time we're publicly announcing that. We've actually dripped it on a couple of customers, and we've demoed it to a couple of customers. We've had really good feedback. It's something that our customers, like I said, where we might do something like that is we think we add value. And we've had a lot of customers that have come to us and said, hey, we're paying for a pricing engine. We're not getting the value out of that. And maybe we don't need some crazy features that some of these other pricing engines offer. When I'm securitizing everything, I don't need 100 investors, for instance. I'm securitizing everything, so I'm paying for all this content that I never use. And so there are a certain number of customers that would have a value. And we think it's exciting because we can knit that into so many other aspects of the platform. Pricing directly into the consumer portal and the consumer experience ultimately has a lot of tentacles to go further. And again, another way that some of our customers and prospects can save a significant amount of money over what they may be paying with some of these other vendors.
It is exciting to hear that, because that is a big announcement. That's a big development for you guys. A lot of your customers are going to be very happy to hear that news. And I just want to say thanks for coming on. Thank you for being a sponsor of the podcast. More importantly, thank you for the relationship. I really value the relationship with Byte. It's been one of those relationships that's been around we've had that going now for a few years. And the more I work with you guys, the more I'm impressed especially when I talk to other clients. Again, CMG, Atlantic Bay is a big client of mine. Radius Financial, I've worked with. They all rave about you. So when you're doing what you're doing well, and you're not losing your customers, kudos to you for how you're going about it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. It is all about being customer-centric and being all about happy clients. I think you can simplify everything to that. If your clients are happy, then other lenders, you could probably make them happy too. Just keep your focus here on your existing clients, and everything else should fall in line. Sales will fall in line. That'll come and go with and dip and grow with different market dynamics. And again, we're here for the long haul. We're here, been in business 40 years. We're not a flash in the pan.
Important.
Retirement horizon, but I'm shooting for us to be around 40 more.
Yeah, I think the good news is you have the track record to do just that. Mark, thanks so much for being here.
More? I don't know about that, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be around for 40 more years. At 74, I don't know. But I'm enjoying watching the history of Byte and how well you're doing. Kudos on your recent release. That's a major development and exciting. And then now the news that we've got a pricing engine coming here at some point down the road. That's exciting too. Keep up the good work, Mark. Thanks so much. Enjoy having you on. I can't wait for all the different things you're going to be doing. You're just a delight to talk to, as well as everyone in the company. Appreciate you, man.
We appreciate the spotlight. Make it a great day.
You bet. Thank you.
You've been listening to Lickin' on Lending. Our passion is to bring you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. So on this show, if you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, it's your go-to source for all things mortgage. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Lickin' on Lending.